Hello to our freaky family. I'm Michelle.
And I'm Kandi.
And this is Sips of Crime.
Hey, welcome to episode 11.
11! Whoop whoop!
Thanks for sticking around this long because,
Oh my gosh.
the first episode, we weren't too comfortable. Now we are.
It still amazes me how far we've come. I'm just so thankful, really, for, first and foremost, our listeners and the support that we've gotten from other podcasts. But the biggest thing that I'm thankful for is just, the extra time that I've been getting to spend with you.
Yes.
Seriously, that is one of the reasons that we started this podcast was because we said, hey, we're best friends, but we never see each other.
I know.
What can we do to change that? And it's let's start a podcast.
I know. But I really do appreciate everybody that has continued to listen and let us find our groove and everything.
Sure. Yes. Also, I just wanted to, shamelessly plug really quick. 84% of our listeners for our last few episodes have been on Apple Podcasts. We are looking at you. If you are listening on Apple Podcasts, please, please, please leave us a 5-star review. You do not have to type up a book. All you have to do, it's completely free. You just have to click that 5-star and then post a little wine emoji. We don't even care.
And that way when somebody searches us, we're the first to pop up.
Yes, it really helps other people find us, and that is the best compliment that you can give us is to rate and review us, because it does change that algorithm for us, and we want as many people to listen as, who wants to listen. So Thank you guys who have reviewed. We really appreciate it. And we love all of you just the same. If you are listening on Spotify, you can leave a rating, but you can't review it. But either way, it helps. So, like I said, Apple Podcasts, we're looking at you. I can see the numbers. 84% of y'all. So please, 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 just take a couple of minutes out of your day to go in and leave a review. Like I said, you don't have to leave a big, long drawn out thing. Just post a little wine emoji and give us 5 stars. We really appreciate it. Kandi, what are we drinking today?
We are going to try the Ferrari Carano. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Did you take a picture?
Yes.
Okay. It's a Pinot Grigio 2020, Sonoma County. Cute little label.
It's adorable.
It reminds me of the, what is that vineyard we go to that you absolutely love? Raffledini.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Isn't that cute?
It does. It looks like a little Italian villa.
Yes. So,
plucked out of Tuscany.
I don't know if this one is because I've never been there. But this is a crisp, refreshing, bright, certified, sustainably farmed in stainless steel fermented, aromas and flavors of lemon and lychee, orange blossom, white peach, and a touch of minerality, and serve it chilled.
Ooh. All right.
It smells a little dry.
Cheers. It's a drier Pinot, but it's still...
Give me a minute, because we just drank a sweet. We gotta quit doing this. We gotta quit doing sweet. Then
we did talk about that, didn't we? It's not that bad. It's not, when I say that bad, I mean, it's not that dry.
No, it's not dry at all.
Well, no, I mean, it is a drier Pinot, but it's
still pretty sweet.
It still has those sweet hints. I feel like it's a very medium, semi-sweet.
It's good.
Mm-hmm.
It's very good.
Well, I hope that you guys enjoyed our last episode where we dug into the death penalty. Kandi has a story for us today. So what are you gracing your presence with today?
Well, the last 2 I have told you guys, they were long and dark. This one,
very dark.
I mean, it's still a true crime podcast, but
we all know what you're here for.
It's not as dark. So grab a glass,
grab a friend,
and let's dive in. Born as Margie Velma Bullard on October 23rd in 1932, and growing up on a small tobacco and cotton farm in rural South Carolina, Velma was one of 9 children of her parents, who were Murphy and Lily Bullard. She was raised in a strict Pentecostal Christian household, and she remained religious on and off throughout her life. Growing up in her home, she had no electricity or running water and no outhouse. So she learned to take trips into the woods or use the chamber pots by herself.
Oh, the chamber pots.
Right. She slept in the same bedroom as her parents through high school.
Wow.
Could you imagine?
No. There's no privacy whatsoever. What year was this again?
She was born in 1932.
1932.
Yeah,
okay.
So high school, so plus 15 years
Give or
from
take.
1932. So 1947?
Ish.
Apparently, Velma's father was physically abusive, and her mother, Lillian Bullard, did not intervene. He was hot-tempered and went on drinking binges. And apparently, in first grade, she loved her teachers in school. She worked hard to achieve good grades. But at this time, her father worked late shift as a textile worker, and she didn't get to see much of him, which is a little contradictory to the next bit of information that we're going to find out. But,
It's always harder to find, good, solid information on these older cases.
Right. And especially, the before, the
The childhood portion, yeah.
Velma did have chores, which included keeping the house clean, washing and ironing clothes, mending for a family of 11.
Whoa.
So, she's in high school, mending of a family of 11. Her father would get her out of school early on the days she needed to do extra laundry, since using the washboard took so long. And of course, she resented this.
I would have too.
Right. And that's why I was saying, it's a little contradictory, because it said that she didn't really see much of him, but he got her out
of school early.
So,
yeah. Could you imagine having to do all of your laundry right now with a washboard?
Heck no.
Also, how often do you iron?
I don't even own an iron.
I actually own an iron, but I never iron my clothes. I do steam my clothes. I have a little steamer.
Oh, that's cool.
And if I pick out a shirt, that's a little wrinkled.
In one of those.
It was $24 on Amazon. It's pink and it's really
Amazon.
cute. Love Amazon.
I spent $80 freaking on birthday decorations, and I only got balloons, a tablecloth, Paw Patrol rings to go on, cupcake topper rings, and a birthday shirt for 2-year-old, and plates. That's it.
That's ridiculous.
And then I forgot to text your mom in time to make cupcakes. So now I gotta buy cupcakes.
I'm sure my mom would be more than happy to make
I
you
already
cupcakes.
texted her and told her she didn't have to worry about it this year. But I would definitely hit her up next year.
I think that she probably would still make them for you. My point is, though, you should buy a steamer. It was $24 on Amazon. It was pink, and it's really cute. And I actually really love it. I just steam my shirt really quickly if it's a little wrinkled, and I don't have to worry about the iron.
I'm going to have to invest in one of those.
Yes, ma'am.
She then begins cooking the family's meals every day, which is just another chore added to her to-do list, because there's 11 of them. Well, around 1945, when she was 13, she recalls her father surprising her with an expensive pink ruffled gown, and it was the last happiest day she could remember. Well, in August of 1945, Velma and her family moved to Robeson County, and she met Thomas Burke. She liked Thomas, but couldn't date till after she was 16. Velma came down with the flu in October of 1945. Still, 13 years old, she had to stay home from school, and unfortunately, her father took advantage of her. We don't have to say the word or details, but we all know what that means. When Velma turned 15, she wanted to play basketball and was chosen to be on the school team, but her parents wouldn't allow it because it would interfere with her chores. Of course, this angered her. She then started to attend church and was baptized at the age of 16. And of course, at the age of 16, she began dating Thomas Burke. When I was doing the research, there was a whole timeline of everything that happened in her life, but it was literally just a timeline. It was just a date, and this is what happened. And so I grabbed some of the information from there, but it wasn't detailed, so I didn't use a lot of it.
Yeah.
It was just kind of what I could grab that I didn't already have. Well, at the age of 17, Velma dropped out of school to marry her then boyfriend Thomas and escape the physical and abuse from her father.
Good for her.
Velma and Thomas went on to have 2 children named Ronnie and Kim. They lived a rather harmoniously life in Parkton, North Carolina for 15 years. But all this would change in 1965.
Dum, dum, dum.
It's not funny. It is, but it's not. Thomas was unfortunately involved in a serious automobile accident. Following his accident, Thomas began to use alcohol and drugs heavily to deal with the severe pain and headaches that resulted from the injuries from the car accident. It's also said that after they had their 2 kids, that Velma had a hysterectomy and developed back pain and depression. Which I have heard that people that do have hysterectomies, you have the option to take estrogen or not, and that can kind of mess with you. I don't know if that happened in 1965.
Oh, I'm sure.
You know, just what I was told. Not that that amounts to anything. It was said that these events is what led to the behavioral change in Velma and eventually a drug addiction. The couple would get into bitter arguments due to the alcohol Thomas had consumed and the complaints from Velma. He would hit her in the drunken rages as well. When Velma was 37, and around November 1968, she collapsed on the kitchen floor and was taken to the hospital due to a nervous breakdown. Once released, she was prescribed a tranquilizer, which I assume was a nerve medication.
Sure.
To be taken once a day, but she abuses it and ends up taking it 3 times a day and running out.
God.
I mean, when you say, hey, I'm taking a tranquilizer 3 times a day.
That's heavy.
I feel like when they were, like, when I read it and it was talking about tranquilizers, I'm like, a horse?
That's exactly what my mind goes to.
Yeah.
Is a horse. But, like, what, I mean, did you find out what kind of medication that would equate to now?
Nothing I read
gave
me a comparison of what it was. And maybe I didn't dig enough, but I promise you I read, like, 15 plus articles trying to figure this out. But it didn't say. So, of course, you know, she's doing it 3 times a day. She's running out.
Yeah.
She goes back to the doctor for more, causing herself to go deeper into a depression and more into a prescription drug use. But on April 4th of 1969, Thomas had passed out while Velma and the children were away attending to errands. The couple's home mysteriously caught fire. Thomas died in the fire from smoke inhalation. A few months after that fire that killed Thomas, a second fire engulfed the house, burning it to the ground.
Oh my God.
So a few articles that I read said it was the same house, and then other ones said it was a different house. So I'm not totally sure if she had 2 different houses and like...
Or like maybe like a guest house, like an outhouse, or like a...
It didn't even say that. It just said, like, someone would say the house that her and Thomas lived in burnt. Or he died in it. And then it caught fire again. Or it was that house caught fire, burnt down, he died, then she moved, that house caught fire and burnt down.
Oh, you're talking about the possibility of 2 actual residences being burnt. Oh my gosh. How unlucky do you have to be?
Right. So it wasn't very clear, so...
One or the other happened.
Right, I just wanted to throw that out there. Only after a few months after Thomas's death, Velma began dating a widower named Jennings Barfield, and the 2 married in August of 1970. But their marriage would only last a few months because the couple would argue over her abuse of prescriptions, in which she actually overdosed and was hospitalized twice.
I would argue about that too.
Once in November of 1970, and then again in February of 1971 is when she overdosed. Well, these incidents led to divorce being mentioned. And once that was mentioned, Jennings became mysteriously ill, contracted an illness to him dying in March 21st of 1971 of a heart attack, or heart failure, per his autopsy.
Oh. I feel like a little bit of Nanny Doss is coming up in your story.
It might be.
The giggling granny.
It might be. So now widowed again, a distraught Velma moved into her parents' home in Fayetteville, North Carolina. She then overdoses yet again, resulting in a 3-week hospital stay.
Good Lord.
Not long after moving into her parents' home, Velma's father died of lung cancer in 1972. Following his death, Velma overdoses Again,
this woman needs to legitimately stop taking these medications.
You would think they would quit prescribing them.
She has no idea how to regulate these things.
So, she overdoses again on the prescription medication and is hospitalized for 2 weeks. Then, not long after her father's death and her overdoses, the following summer of 1974, about 2 years later or so, Velma's mother began to complain of severe stomach pains with intense diarrhea, vomiting, and nausea. She was admitted to a nearby hospital, but was released because her symptoms subsided.
Stopped.
So now, this is 3 people that have passed. Her mother was sick, but became better after the hospital stay. But in August 1974, the same summer, the man that Velma was dating was killed in a fatal car accident. Weird. But maybe just coincidental.
Maybe.
Fast forward to December of 1974, which is not long after her mom had gotten sick and come back home. Again, just 4 months later, Lillian was rushed, which is her mom, to the hospital where she was pronounced dead only 2 hours after being admitted. The doctors were unable to diagnose Lillian Bullard's fatal illness, nor was an autopsy done. They ruled it a heart attack.
Of course.
At this point, death just surrounds her, which would make me super suspicious, but apparently no one else.
Apparently not.
Well, except her son, Ronnie Burke, who once said, it's the saddest thing, but it seems like everybody my mother ever gets close to dies. How could this happen to a faithful Christian like Velma Barfield?
Well, if you have a hand in it, it makes it pretty easy.
But we don't know that yet.
You're right, we don't. I'm just speculating.
We're now in the year of 1975, and Velma's staying with her son and daughter. Well, she ends up overdosing.
Again.
2 different times.
Lord have mercy.
One of those times, she was trying to commit suicide. She fails. Breaks her collarbone and is hospitalized for 3 weeks. Please tell her that she's going to be arrested when the hospital releases her for 7 counts of writing bad forged checks.
Oh, no.
So that's why she's in trouble, is because she wrote these checks, she forged these checks.
Not because of her abuse of these prescription drugs.
No, because she forged some checks. So now, the second time of just this year of her overdosing. After her arrest, once again, she is rushed to a nearby hospital where she gets her stomach pumped and is ready for court the next day. She ends up serving 3 months of a 6-month sentence in prison for bad check incidents. So she tried to kill herself because she was going to get arrested. She tried to kill herself when she got arrested.
Well, we know, from the Ted Bundy case and from other past cases that writing bad checks is a much larger offense back then as it is now. I mean, ultimately, if you write a bad check now, it's like there is absolutely no prison time.
Well, she only served 3 months.
Yeah, I mean, there's no jail time at all, though, if you write a bad check at this point. So, but I'm just so surprised that nobody has caught on to this drug issue.
After overdosing now 6 different times in her life.
That's a lot.
Yeah, heck yeah, it is. Trying to watch my mouth over here. Heck yeah, it is. Charged with 7 counts of writing and forging checks. You would think she would possibly turn her life around, right?
You would think?
Well, I wouldn't be sitting here telling you this story if that was the case.
Of course not.
So I'm going to show you a picture
of
Miss Velma. Here is Velma.
Oh.
And it's a little small because I had to print it.
That's okay. She looks like just every other
granny
out there.
Your grandma, whatever. All right. Well, upon her release, she obtained a job as a home health nurse for an elderly couple. 94-year-old Montgomery Edwards and his 84-year-old wife, Dolly. In January of 1977, just 2 short years later, Montgomery passed away. Then a few weeks later, in late February of 1977, Dolly Edwards was also dead, having developed a strange stomach virus. Velma was reassigned to care for a second elderly couple by the name of John Henry and Record Lee. Record had broken her leg and needed the help, but unfortunately, John Lee died in 1977 when he began to experience racking pains in his stomach and chest, along with vomiting and diarrhea, his doctors diagnosing it as only a severe stomach virus. She ends up quitting her job as a caretaker for Record Lee and moves to Lumberton to work at a nursing home.
So they're dropping like flies.
Yes, they are.
Everywhere she goes.
Mm-hmm. Later on in 1977, Velma moved in with her new boyfriend, Stuart Taylor, who was actually a relative of Dolly Edwards.
Oh, Lord.
It was her nephew.
Great.
Who Velma had met while she cared for Montgomery and Dolly. Once moved in, Stuart found letters sent to her at the prison. And he becomes enraged because he didn't know she had been to prison.
Yeah.
I mean, if you move in with someone and you're like, hold up, wait a minute.
Like she's staying in your house.
Right, like y'all are a couple. And you see these letters from you see these letters from prison and you're like, oh no, who's in my house?
Oh no.
Well, it's also said that when Velma met Stuart, he was a raging alcoholic. Clearly, she didn't learn from, the alcoholics are just, they're not a great mix for her.
No,
so
not at all.
Why even try to pursue this? But, Well, Velma began to fear that Stuart would discover that she's been forging checks on his account. So Velma began to mix an arsenic-based rat poison into his beer and tea.
There it is. There's Nanny Doss.
One day, while Velma and Stuart were at home, Stuart brought up the forging checks and the two got in an argument. Then,
so we caught her.
Yeah, for the checks. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Well, the two got into an argument about the checks.
Mm-hmm.
Well, a little time passed, and they were getting ready for church, and Velma hands Stuart a beer. Stuart just thought she was calling a truce to the argument from earlier in the day. So he drank his beer.
Sure.
And they went on to attend the revival meeting in Cumberland County, North Carolina. Stuart began to complain of severe stomach pain. He was later admitted to the hospital and was dead within a matter of days. An autopsy was ordered, but before the autopsy report was returned, Lumberton police received a tearful phone call from Velma's sister saying that Velma had poisoned Stuart and others.
Oh, Lord.
At first, the police didn't think too much of it. Until the autopsy for Stuart came back, it was just as Velma's sister had said. There was arsenic from rat poison in his stomach. Velma was then arrested, and police started looking up every tragic death that had filled her life or that surrounded her.
So they started going back.
Yep.
Oh, Lord.
Take a drink of your wine for this one.
All right.
Or whatever you're drinking. Even exhuming the body of Jennings, her second husband.
Oh, my gosh.
Where they found traces of arsenic, a murder she had denied, of course. But the police stated that they found the traces of the exact same brand of rat poison. Velma pretended to know nothing about it until her son Ronnie Burke asked her about it. She said she couldn't lie to her son and broke down sobbing in front of him, saying, quote, "It was an accident. I only meant to make him sick," unquote.
Oh, I just accidentally gave him too much poison.
Right. You knew what you were doing.
You knew what you were doing.
She later confessed to the poisoning with arsenic, Montgomery, Dolly, John, and her mother, Lillian. She claimed she killed them in order to cover up the fact that she had stolen the money for them to support her illicit drug use. She later confessed to the poisoning of Stuart as well, but despite her confessions to these murders, Velma continued to debunk the claims that she had also killed Thomas and Jennings, her two husbands, and that Thomas's death was really a freak accident. Thomas was the first husband. If you don't remember, he was the one that died in the fire.
Mm-hmm.
And then police were unable to prove anything about Thomas, but they had reason to doubt her for the others.
Sure, of course.
Especially with the evidence now in hand. She was only convicted for the murder of Stuart, though. Here's a picture of her. You can't really see it.
Oh, my gosh.
On the way to court.
Yeah.
And it tells you that this was Deputy Willis Walters escorting Velma to Robeson County Courthouse in Lumberton, North Carolina on May 1st, 1978.
I'm sorry. Do you at some point go into a possible motive? Because at this point, you haven't said anything about insurance money or...
Because she didn't want to get caught writing the forged checks. That's her motive.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Velma was convicted of first-degree murder of Stuart Taylor in December of 1978. The jury found aggravating circumstances and recommended that she be sentenced to death.
Ooh.
Now, while on death row, Velma became a born-again Christian.
Of course she did. What better time?
and began to minister fellow inmates and guards.
She's ministering to other inmates and guards?
Yep.
Teaching.
Oh, you just wait. Just wait.
Teaching the good word and her ways.
She began writing letters to Governor Jim Hunt, in which she argued that her born-again Christian faith should be considered as a mitigating factor for commuting her sentence from death to life in prison. Are you ready for this one?
No, but give it to me anyway.
Take a sip of your wine.
Okay.
She gathered a great deal of support from many Christians across the U.S., including Billy and Ruth Graham. You know Billy Graham, the one that, does Sunday churches on TV?
Kandi, do you know how many people do Sunday churches on TV thanks to COVID?
We're not talking about COVID. He's been doing it forever.
I don't know who you're talking about. No.
Oh, well, I thought you would know. He's just a popular pastor that's on TV.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
He endorsed her, though.
He supported her.
Okay.
Yeah. Governor Hunt denied her request for leniency. Velma also appealed her conviction to the U.S. District Court of Eastern North Carolina. Despite a temporary stay of execution, her legal appeals were also eventually denied. One of her appeals, there was a testimony from a professor of psychiatry named Dorothy Lewis, an authority of violent behavior. She claimed that apparently Velma suffered from dissociative identity disorder. She went on to testify that she had spoken to Velma's other personality named Billy.
Okay, hold on. I can't let you continue. You're telling me.
Billy did it.
So Velma didn't commit the crime. Her alter ego, Billy, did it, which is a male.
I'm assuming so. You know a girl named Billy?
Nope.
She went on to testify that she had spoken to Velma's other personality named Billy.
Good. Okay.
And was told that Velma had been a victim of sexual abuse and that Billy, I shouldn't say it like that. Billy had killed her abusers. The judge.
What?
Billy done it. Billy did it. The judge was unconvinced and said one of them killed him, and I don't care which one.
There you go. I agree with the judge. Good Lord. I don't care what personality killed him. It was still the same person. Good Lord. Good for him.
I cracked up when I read that.
I
could not include that.
Are you serious?
Yeah. Yeah.
And this person was trying to get her off?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, God.
Yeah, for dissociative identity disorder.
Dissociative identity.
Because Billy done it.
Because Billy did it.
But the judge said one of them did it, and he didn't care which one. He, she, whoever it was. Here is Velma in her cell.
I cannot associate this alter ego with these pictures that you're showing me, Kandi. This is insane.
Velma in her prison in central Raleigh. On April 25th of 1984.
Look how much stuff she's got. She's got a little shelf over here with all of her little pictures and knickknacks.
Yeah.
Lord have mercy.
Whatever. Velma was executed on November 2nd, 1984 at Central Prison in Raleigh, North Carolina.
Do you know how she was executed?
She was 52 years old at the time of her execution and was the first woman to be put to death by lethal injection in the United States.
Oh my gosh, that goes hand in hand with our last episode.
Great minds think alike. So here is the execution room.
Mm-hmm.
Here is Velma with her big old glasses.
So one of the things that I want to start doing with our episodes is and I don't mean to make this sound humorous or exciting, but obviously people who are on death row, they get a last meal.
Yes, I'm about to go there.
Oh, I am always so interested in these people's last meal because I personally think it says a lot about you as a person.
Oh, you just wait. So, she was the first woman to be put to death by lethal injection, which Kind of funny.
Extremely interesting.
Not funny. It's not funny.
No, you and I are on the same wavelength.
Right.
It just goes to show our best friendship.
Right. So, I mean, I didn't pick her knowing that.
No,
she was
I
the
know
first
you
person,
didn't because
still,
I surprised you.
But kind of funny.
So funny.
She did release a statement before she was executed. Quote, I know that everybody has gone through a lot of pain. All the families connected, and I am sorry. I want to thank everybody who has been supporting me all these 6 years. Unquote.
Who is supporting her?
We'll get there.
Okay.
Oh, the Christians. And
Oh,
Billy
the
Graham
Christians,
and
because
his
she's
wife.
reborn. Right.
Yeah. Velma chose her last meal. It's not funny. It is funny. Velma chose her last meal to be cheese doodles and a Coca-Cola.
Yes, ma'am.
She apparently wasn't worried and told her family, when I go into the gas chamber, it's my getaway to heaven.
So it was a gas chamber.
She said it was, but it wasn't. She died by lethal injection.
Oh, good Lord.
She's lost her mind.
Obviously. Cheese doodles? That's what, I mean, how do you portion...
Cheese doodles and a Coke.
And a Coke. How do you portion that out?
She probably could get as many cheese doodles as she wanted.
Did they give her a whole bag?
I guess. I don't know. I've seen
what year
TikToks.
was this?
1984. Is when she was put to death.
1984. Okay, so I'm assuming you could buy like a whole bag of cheese doodles at that time.
But, so I've seen some TikToks where they talk about like people or people's last meals or whatever, and they're like, 10 ounces of fried liver.
Oh, God.
Or, what is it?
No,
like 1 pint of ice cream. 10 ounces of fried liver. What the heck? Why can I not find my words?
Fried liver is a thing.
No, the little pieces.
Chicken livers.
Yeah.
It's fried liver.
But that's what I was trying to say. Like, he was like, or he, she, whoever it was, they were like, it's not the same person, but they're like 1 pint of ice cream, 10 ounces of fried chicken liver.
That was the same meal?
No, I said
no. It was different people. Okay,
but this is like the TikToks I was seeing or whatever. They're like are very specific of what they want.
We should do an episode
of death row meals. Yes.
Death row inmates' last meals.
We should.
Oh God! So she wanted cheese doodles
and a Coke. Yep.
Okay.
I mean, that don't even sound like a good mixture, but
I wouldn't want that. But okay.
She also tried to get Billy Graham to use his influence to save her life a little before the execution, but instead he told her, Velma, in a way I envy you, because you're going to get to go to heaven before I do.
I don't know if she's going to heaven.
Exactly what I said, and I literally put. Now, I don't know if she went to heaven or not, but she was a born-again Christian, and Jesus does forgive all sins, says the Bible, but we're not getting into religion.
We're not going to get into religion.
That's exactly what I typed.
Okay.
Anyway, a crowd had formed outside, and 300 of them were begging for Velma's life at the prison walls, holding candles and singing hymns.
Oh my gosh.
But then across from those 300 people were about 80 more who wanted her dead, and they were chanting, die, bitch, die. It's not funny. I shouldn't laugh.
So, I mean, ultimately, though, people in the community knew.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
yeah. Like, you had the Christians and whatever that wanted her to live and get life in prison.
Sure.
And then you had the other ones chanting.
Oh, my gosh.
Witnesses say she didn't suffer, and she seemed to relax as the toxin poison flowed through her veins, kind of like it did when she killed those people.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, but I don't know how relaxing it can be when your stomach's all jacked up and in pain, so I don't know how similar you can compare that. I mean,
after a whole bag of cheese doodles and a Coke, you can't possibly have a settled stomach.
No, I'm saying when her arsenic.
No, that's what. Yeah,
she might have went well, but the people she fed arsenic to that were
definitely suffered worse.
That's what I'm saying. Well, apparently, a gentleman by the name of Jonathan Bird, who is the grandson of Jennings Barfield and his first wife, wrote a song called Velma, which is from his Wildflowers album, and gives a personal account of the murders and investigation. Want to listen to it?
Yes, I do. Absolutely. 100%.
Okay, I haven't listened to it yet either.
Okay.
Because I wanted to save my reaction together.
Okay. We have no licensing to play the song, but we're going to do it anyway.
The wind in the cypress and the sand on the ground, falling down, Velma, falling down. The daughter of a farmer, well, she ran away to town, falling down, the Velma, falling down. Well, you married my granddaddy, and him I never knew. Falling down the Velma, falling down. But about the time he met me was about the time he met you. Falling down the Velma, falling down. You watched her fall, falling down, Velma, falling down. Your medicine is calling, can't you hear your medicine call? Falling down, Velma, falling down.
Oh my gosh.
Taylor, now someone had to know. Falling down, Velma, falling down. 'Cause every man you've been with, well, the one by one they go. Falling down.
Oh my God.
Falling down.
Who did you say this was?
Jennings' grandson. So her second husband's grandson.
Oh my God. Oh my gosh.
Oh my Lord. I wasn't expecting it to be
That
so
was
personal.
Yeah, that was very personal.
Oh God. Well, my story wasn't too dark for you guys.
No, I think that, it wasn't enjoyable, of course,
Well,
because,
no,
she is a murderer, but
it wasn't
a
heavy.
little bit more lighthearted for sure. You can join our freaky little family both on Instagram and Facebook and find all of the featured photos from this episode
at Sips of Crime.
For a chance to have your story featured on one of our future episodes, send us a Gmail
to sipsofcrime@gmail.com.
And you can find all of our episodes wherever you get your podcasts. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, we would really appreciate you giving us a 5-star review because it really helps other people find our podcasts and our episodes. Thanks for listening. Stay alive.